Hello and welcome back to the Damn Podcast. Today's guest is Cornelius Dämmrich, also known as zomax. Cornelius is a 3D artist based in Berlin, Germany. He specializes in creating detailed atmospheric CG environments, combining various software like Cinema 4D, Substance Painter, and Houdini to create some of the most breathtaking art you've ever seen, and is a master at making the observer feel something. You can find examples of his work at his website at corneliusdämmrich.com, and even purchase said work on platforms like SuperRare if you are so inclined. In this episode, we talked about our internet forum origins as artists, the non-scummy side of the NFT market, the need for perceived imperfections in artwork, streaming, game development, and more. If you'd like to watch these live, you can find all the information to do so at konr.work/dam, that's DAM all caps, and follow me on Twitch at KONRRR to get notified when I go live.
Cool.
Welcome to the podcast, my guy. Thank you very much for being a guest. It is the 18th episode of the Damn Podcast. DAM stands for Design, Art, and Music. It's because I like to have long-form conversations with creative people. And you are one of those people that I've been wanting to have a conversation with for quite a while. Your art is legitimately some of the most inspiring shit I've ever seen in my fucking life. I show it to so many people all the time. And I'm like, look at this and tell me you don't want to start doing 3D art, you know? It's one of those. So I really want to kind of pick your brain on like what your origins are a little bit and like where you originated from before you were as good as you are now at what you do. Welcome onto the podcast, buddy. This is zomax, by the way, also known as Cornelius Dämmrich. That's his actual name. Obviously, it's not the other way around. At the end of this as well, if you're at the start of this podcast and you're listening back to the audio thing, there is a video version of this that will be put on the internet. I just haven't put any of the stuff on the internet yet when it comes to the YouTube video stuff, but I will be making in the next week-ish from this point, which is the 27th of the 1st, so you hold me accountable. I'm going to put stuff up on a YouTube channel, so you will be able to see the visual parts of this as well. Also, you'll be able to go to the website, konr.work, konr.work, and /DAM, all caps, and you'll be able to see the previous episodes, including some links to zomax's stuff. So, yeah. Welcome on, man.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing? How's life at the moment?
Good. I will embark to a long vacation to Japan in 1 month.
A long vacation to Japan?
Yeah, well, like 20 days, but
that's
still, it's
pretty long, yeah. But Japan.
Pretty long so, that's gonna be exciting. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. First time Japan for me, but also super excited.
Oh yeah.
Other than that, I just started with a new project, and yeah, everything. I don't know. It's just
normal
flowing.
Stuff.
Just life, you know. Yeah.
I know you got a dog recently. I saw that.
Yeah, well, not recently anymore. So she's here 2 years now.
I'm just stuck in the past apparently, but it feels recent.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
At least since I've had a full-on conversation with you about anything, that's when you got, in between then you've got a dog.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask you about was a lot of the origin for a lot of the stuff that I learned was being on like forums on the internet that had absolutely nothing to do with graphics and just making graphics on those forums. And like in weird little, there were these like graphics sections of forums, and then everyone would eventually like congregate in other forums as well and actually look for things that are a bit more specific to graphics and these sorts of things.
Yeah.
Were you in things like that? Were you in like, Planet Renders and stuff like that back in the day, or were you like...
So I started out in forums as well, and back in the day, that was like the early 2000s, around 2002 or something. That was like the time when I had like internet on my personal PC. Before that, you had like one PC in the house, and everyone would share it. And then I had a personal PC. Like I always had a personal PC, but without internet connection.
Oh, okay.
And so that was the time when like there were flat rates in Germany, so you wouldn't have to pay so much per minute. And I would immediately go to BitTorrent forums and try to pirate shit. So that was the first thing. And I was in one of those forums, and they had like a graphics section. And then I got Photoshops like a year later, like Photoshop 7.0 or something.
Yeah, that was my first as well.
Yeah, and then I started making these user icons for the people. That was pretty much how I started with my whole career. Just making user icons and signature graphics for forum users for free.
Yeah, me too. Me
They
too.
would be like, "Hey, hi, can you do me, I don't know, a spaceship in my signature?" I would just go to, I don't know, Google and find like a picture of a spaceship and put it in a box, and then yeah, here you go. So that was the start of it all.
Yeah, me too.
And
Low
I
key.
think a year after that, I started with 3D. I think. Yeah,
Only
it
a
must.
year after, so you've been doing it a
Yeah,
long time then.
yeah, super long time. 21 years now, I think,
Damn.
roughly. But it was also like back in the day, there wasn't like much learning resources for 3D. So it wasn't like today when you download Blender and you have like this abundance of tutorials on the internet. And back then there wasn't even YouTube, so it was just very basic what you can do. Also, there the variety of programs and softwares weren't that big, and they couldn't do as much. It looked all pretty shit, but it was good enough for me to keep going. And there's also not a thing like that was all super centered in Germany, so I would only go to German online forums
Okay.
and not to international ones because of the language barrier. Back then, I didn't speak that English that well, and couldn't like communicate with outside people because I just like my school English skills,
Yeah.
and there were enough to pass a vocabulary test in school, but not to have like a conversation with someone. And that came way later when I started to go online and watch shows in the original language and
Yeah.
actually talk to people. So yeah, back then was just only Germany, and then find someone who does C4D or any 3D software in Germany you could talk to and like learn things from them. It was super hard back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a similar experience, except that I remember playing with C4D back then, like, and I was just making like abstract kind of what we would call fractals back then, but they weren't really
Oh yeah.
fractals. They like we weren't really making fractals at all. We were just kind of thinking that's what it was. It was similar like how, you know, we would make things that were made in like kind of cell shaded type style, and we would be like, that's vector. That's not what that means, dude. I remember
Yeah,
everyone would
but I
call it that.
remember that style,
Yeah.
that like deathcore with like these cyber.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When we used to call it GFX.
Yep, we did, we did, we did. I used to go to
Yeah.
a forum called GFX Junk for a while. That was like the
Uh,
whole thing was pretty much just people making signatures, and then there was Tag Freak later on that came up. That was like everyone
uh,
was making signatures on that. That was the whole forum, was just signatures, was on Tag
did
Freak.
you also have that interface thing when people would just build interfaces like Winamp skins?
Yes, yes,
It
yes,
would
yes.
like look like a machine or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
like
yeah.
in pseudo 3D, so not really 3D, but just painted like it would
Yeah, we had those
looks
as
like.
well.
Yeah.
Everyone would just be customizing everything and then posting it to every forum that they went to. And I was
Yeah.
also technically the original forums I was on, you know, it was because of Neopets actually. I was on Neopets and I started in like 2000, so I was like 7. And I remember I got scammed by this kid called Spider with a Y, and I'll never forget his name to this day. I'll never forget. He's my enemy for the rest of my life.
All
He
right.
scammed me of all my stuff, stole my account. I was so devastated. I was like, you know what? I'm not letting this happen again. So I looked it up, Neopets hacks, and I found a forum, and on that forum it had a graphics section, and so I started like going, oh, that's actually quite interesting, and I started doing more. And my uncle also has always been a graphics illustrator. He does like 3D models for like real estate companies and things like that. So he does a lot and old advertising stuff too. So he would do like water simulation type stuff for like toothpaste ads and stuff. So I kind of had it around me. I just never really learned it from them at all. They never really showed me how to do anything or anything like that. But yeah, I was always horrendous at 3D, to be honest. I'm sure I could get good at it if I spent enough time, but now I've gotten to the point where my PC can't really handle it very well. That's the problem now.
Yeah, it's pretty much a time game with 3D, it feels like. So it always like the stuff that looks fantastic where you think, wow, I want to do that, usually takes a lot of time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
I
But
was
I had
blown away
the
hearing how long you took to make some of the stuff that you made. Not that it doesn't look like it took a long time. It did obviously look like that, but when you told me it was like 6 months and stuff sometimes, like, or even longer, like,
yeah.
that's insane to me. Like, to work on one piece for that long sounds very stressful to me as an artist.
Oh, it is, and it's also changing right now. I feel like so. My recent pieces all didn't take that long. So
Okay.
like the last one I did was Caliban.
Yeah.
That was just released, and that took me like a little bit over a month.
Oh, okay.
And so I don't like I changed a few of my workflows and like try not to be so perfectionistic, like to get away from that perfectionism I used to have, and that helps because that's the thing that would always make me burn out during a project that takes me like 6 months, and then I change everything and spend like weeks on one asset, and it's just not doesn't feel right anymore at this moment, at least. And so I try to change things up and
Seems to be
make
working.
sure. Yeah, I mean the output, like I can do more. I take some shortcuts, obviously, and yeah, right now in the headspace I'm in now, it feels right. So I'm just doing that.
I would say
And
like a lot of your work, you know, the older stuff that I remember seeing, like the one I don't remember the name right now. It's a number and then it ends with a D. I don't remember the whole name.
6088 AD.
That one.
Yeah.
That one, it's like there's so many things you can see in that one image, like that you've obviously put time and like so much time into thinking about. And I think the problem as well is like when you're staring at something for a very long time, you start hating it, like, and all the details of everything you've made, and you start being like, oh, that's not great. This isn't great. I should change that. I should change this. And it's because you're staring at it for so long, over and over again, like, and you know how you made it too. So the magic isn't really there in the same way that it would be for someone that's seeing it that doesn't know how to make these sorts of things, you know? But
Yeah.
if you can like stop yourself from doing that and then still produce really fucking good quality work, that's awesome. Yeah. I think the most recent thing you did, the car one, I forgot the name again, but you've just said it. That one, like I've shown that to several people and all of them, they still kind of say the same things that they said about the other stuff. Like they talk about the atmosphere in it and like the tension and like all the noise and like imperfections in the actual art itself on purpose. Like that's something that I really enjoy doing in my work as well. Like adding noise and imperfections to stuff, so that it like you take something that's very clean cut and then you add all the things that remove that, and then that makes it feel much more real. Because obviously, in reality, like even if it's like a 2D poster or something, it's like it makes it feel a lot less digital and a lot more like it's reality. You know what I mean? Because things actually do
Yeah.
have imperfections. You know.
I come from the time in the early 2000s. Everyone wanted to get rid of film grain. Like it was like the rise of digital cameras. And I have like photographers in my family, and all that they would talk about is, yeah, it's so grainy, and we would like these new lenses in digital, and you can get rid of the photo grain, and it's really soft, and I don't know. And back then it was something to strive for, and that something you want. And at some point in the last, I don't know, 10 years, something changed. Also, like in my workflow, and I embraced the grain, and the more grain, the better.
Yeah,
And
pretty much.
now I put tons of film grain on it, and halation, and like I would actually love to also have the camera shake a little, so it's never really like sharp or out of focus all the time. And yeah, I love that. Like I do the opposite of all the photographers pretty much, like the digital photographers who want a clean image. I want the chromatic aberration, halation. I want all the dirtiness
Yeah.
in my work.
You want the
Like,
stuff that people got used to thinking were bad things, you know,
yeah,
like because
yeah,
they did. But to be fair, a lot of people are going back to it now. Like there's a lot of
yeah. It's like a trend also with
yeah,
the
true.
like the analog photography stuff that's super hyped up right now. Like a lot of people buying these vintage cameras
Yep.
like Context T2 for like absurd prices.
Yeah, I've seen some of
And
them.
yeah, it's just like a thing. Like vinyl, for example, is also coming back. Or just for the recent like 10 years, it's coming back.
Yeah, I mean it's the same in music production too. Like people add in vinyl crackle to stuff. There's like plugins in
Yeah,
different doors you can use to add the vinyl crackle
yeah,
or these sorts of things. I think it does. Like the reason it was originally thought of as a bad thing is because people were trying to record what was actually there in the first place, right? That they were trying to. This is the reality of what's in front of us, and so they were just focusing on that. And then like people obviously got used to the limitations of their cameras and stuff, but once they then saw a way out of that, they were like, it's pretty easy to go, oh, well, it's better without it, obviously. But then I think we've learned over the years now that like it's not necessarily better just because it's cleaner. And
yeah.
there's a definitely a charm to imperfections and stuff. I think it adds a bit more realism in a sense to it. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's when you have a 35 millimeter scan of a film negative, it's not super high res. It's often very blurry and soft and looks shit, right? So you lose a lot of detail, but yet people do it, and you have like 100 megapixel cameras
Mm-hmm.
with huge medium format sensors, and you can see everything. You can see like little dents in the skin and hairs and everything. So it's super crisp, right? And then you have like the guys and girls with a 35 millimeter film, and it's absolutely soft and grainy. But I don't know. It's just like, I guess people are drawn to imperfections in a way. I am as well, right? So I always make my scenes messy and kind of fucked up with like damage and stains everywhere with fingerprints on the glass
Yeah.
and these surfaces. And I had a job in I did architectural visualization back in the day. That was my first job after university,
Okay.
and I hated it. It was like everything was so unrealistically neat and clean.
Thorough.
I mean, you do that to sell the thing,
Yeah.
right? So people see, oh, it's high quality, it's clean, there's no stains. But everyone knows that's not true. Like, why wouldn't there be stains? Of course, there will be stains. You touch it once and there's a stain. Everything has stains. There's nothing perfect in the world. And I don't know. I just never liked the idea that everything is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just messing everything up. I just add so much grime and shit to it until it's like super nasty, and
Yeah.
that's
I
that's
think
where I think,
I honestly think your work works that way though. Like whenever I'm looking at something, one of the things I like the most about a lot of the old stuff you've done, like like those ones where they're kind of like suspended in air, like that capsule type looking thing. All the grit and the grime is kind of the whole, like that adds to it so much. I think if you remove that from me, I'd be so hyper aware that it's a 3D model, even though I know it is a 3D model. It's like it would be too obvious to me, like on the surface,
yeah, it's
Um,
also just boring.
yeah, that too.
Like,
It's like, great job, you made a
scratches.
3D model. That's great and all, but
Yeah, and it's
what's
also
the piece?
like it's a character in the piece, like the whole, you mentioned the atmosphere and everything. So I don't know, I never get much response from something that like emotional response from something that is like super neat and clean. Like usually, like when I see like a car rendering in of photo in a magazine, like an advertising for a new car, it doesn't evoke the same emotion like I see from cars that are a little bit messed up,
I
and
agree.
where people actually went
They've been
on
used, yeah.
adventures with, yeah, and they experienced something. So
I completely
yeah,
agree with that. You have like a thing like that as well, where you said that like your original intro you had on your Twitch, where you had a I don't know if it's an original one or whatever, but the one where it's you said you filmed the CRT
oh, that
playing.
a friend of mine did that,
Yeah.
Alex.
That is one of those examples because it's like you're filming an old piece of technology in order to get an
Yeah,
effect that you could make, but you want it the real gritty, like
yeah, but
imperfect
you
way.
also, you can't make that.
You can't,
Like,
not very well.
yeah, you can, like, you can do it in After Effects, but you will always see that it's not the real thing.
Yeah.
Like CRT glitch effects are very hard to do right.
Mhm.
There's like obviously there's like some presets and tools you can use, but they are not. That's not the same thing. It's the same thing with photo grain.
Yeah.
Like digital photo grain
You
is
can tell.
cool. Yeah, I mean, maybe not as it's maybe not as bad as with CRT glitches, but CRT glitches, like real CRT glitches, that's just like a whole another level of visual goodness to them compared to like digitally made ones.
100%.
At least for me, I always see that when it's digital and when they just use a CRT and film from it, it's so much better.
I will say you're probably more likely to be able to see that than a random person. Like most people probably won't
Probably.
even be able to tell,
Yeah.
right? Like most
Yeah.
people. But
Yeah.
if you know, and you'll never be able to not see it. So if you make something
Yeah.
for yourself and it has an imperfect in the other way, not in the way that you like, animation, because you've done it in After Effects instead, you'll be hyper aware of it every day, and you'll be like, "I've got to fix that." Like it's
I
one of them.
mean, it's kind of my job to know that, right? To
That's true.
notice the difference. So
That is true. That is true.
that's what people pay me for. So yeah.
Absolutely. One thing I wanted to ask as well is like, did you ever consider like anything to do with games? Like, did you think that you were going to end up at any point being a part of like a game studio or something and doing environments for those, or is that something that you would
Um,
still want to do ever in your life?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I think I want to do that at some point. I don't know if I want to work with a game studio. That heavily depends on the game studio.
for sure.
Like if they want me, if I want them.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't probably end up like at Ubisoft or
Yeah, of course
EA
not.
and some. I mean,
These sorts of places are just not very good environments, I think, for artists in general. Usually, from what I've heard.
I know a lot of people who work in these studios, also the AAA studios, and it's. But I don't see myself there
Yeah,
like being one tiny cog in the
yeah,
wheel,
yeah, yeah.
right?
I
So
feel you.
it's just like I would probably want to do my own game, and I also had ideas in the past for that. Like I'm a huge fan of these retro point and click adventures,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
Monkey
Yeah,
Island
yeah.
and Day of the Tentacle. And I thought about doing something like that. But right now, like a friend of mine who's usually like normally he's doing all the music stuff for my projects, Lucas.
Hmm.
He's also a software engineer, and he's experimenting like right now with like
With game
Unity
design.
and like game design and how the software works and like we talk a lot about this, that we at some point maybe want to do like some small indie game just to try it out
Hmm.
and then scale from there. And like games are incredibly hard to make. It's a miracle that for every game that gets released, it's a miracle that that happened, pretty
Hmm.
much, in my opinion. The same goes for animated shorts and movies, and like there's so many things that have to work together. That's just nuts. And the bigger the game, the crazier the effort is, in my opinion.
100%.
So, yeah, we will try our luck with something small at some point. I'm just pretty much just brainstorming all day and waiting for the right idea.
Hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have ideas for games, but they are super ambitious, and that's why we're not
That's the problem.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's unrealistic that we could do that together. Just so we would need like a big team for that. Um, but I'm waiting for like an idea that doesn't have so much thrill, like like for example, I won't say that this is a small game, but like Vampire Survivors,
Yeah,
Vampire
yeah, yeah.
Survivors, yeah, compared to like I don't know some AAA game that's relatively small and
Hmm.
can overlook the whole thing, all the things that have to work together. That's easier to maintain
It's a very
compared to
simple base. Like the actual base of the
yeah.
game is simple. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like huge storytelling world. It's just like it's like a roguelike, and you have the same setup every time,
Hmm.
and it's the mechanic that makes it fun and addicting. And it's just very well made, in my opinion.
I
It's
agree.
cool. And something like that would be ideal, but obviously we can't just do
Vampire
Vampire
Survivors.
Survivors. So, like, we need an idea that is kind of plays in the same ballpark like that, like a
Like
platformer
a
or something.
very straightforward formula, and then once you
Yeah,
know it's simple enough, the formula, you could actually do it, then you have to get
yeah,
excited about the rest of it, right?
yeah, and that's what I'm doing half the day now, right now,
Oh, hell yeah.
like thinking about the formula.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that because
yeah,
you know, your stuff that you make, I've always enjoyed like the Delphi stuff that you do and like how you kind of like tie things together into making me think about it as its own world. I think that's something that I really, really appreciate about 3D artists, especially when they're able to do that. Because it's like all these like it's also why I like a lot of different stories. Like I'm a big fan of One Piece. I read the manga, like I'm so caught up and I love it so much. And I didn't think I'd love it as much as I did, but one of the reasons I do is because they world build in a way where it's like you can imagine all the different places in this world and what's going on in those places and what different characters are doing at any given moment. And you might not be right about it, but you can imagine all of it. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I don't think you get that from a lot of other kind of mediums. But when when you world build a little bit with your art and you kind of have a a concept of a place that exists and characters in said place, and especially when you keep it kind of vague as well, so like we don't know all the details of Delphi, we only hear from you when it comes to little bits of the area. I think that makes it kind of interesting as well because there isn't a story attached to it, but there is a world, and the world is like we can make up the story in our own head kind of thing. I like that.
yeah. That was like an accident that this happened. Um, yeah, I always had this idea, like, I'm not a writer, so I don't write stories really. I'm not good at this. Whenever I write a story, I tried that many times, and the next day I would just read it and cringe. So it's like so bad. And I thought, hey, I'm good at doing images that make you feel something, right? So I can, like, I see something that inspires me and makes me feel something. I can turn the inspiration into something that other people can
Yeah.
grasp. So I have the ability to control what you feel when you look at an image
Yes,
to a certain degree.
for sure.
And I thought, okay, I can't write, but I can do this. So I will just construct something that makes you feel like you belong into a world, but I don't have to write the story for it.
Yeah, I
And
think it works.
I mean, it's loosely connected, and there is like some ideas about the background and some persons that are inside that, and also with the tooth and all the symbolism and everything. But it's not like I have like a manual for that. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't have a text document where it's all written down. I have several text documents where it's written down, but it's all different,
But
and
separate
it's not.
things, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like I did that years ago, so it's not like the current state of the world. And
Mhm.
maybe I should do that one day, like with ChatGPT or
Try
something.
try
But
and
it's
flesh it out a bit and just give it all the stuff that you've already got.
yeah, but it's not like the best thing would be if I have like some writer and I just tell him like, yeah, and then it's that happens and that happens. Now make it sound cool.
Yeah, yeah. Like, you get
But
someone on board that, like, is better at the actual details of it, yeah.
yeah,
And,
also
like,
with
how to put it
language
across.
and like writing itself is a it's a skill, right? It's just like how to use words so it doesn't sound cringe. It's like manual labor almost. And same with 3D. It's like everyone can do a 3D image, but to make it look good, it's a different thing, right?
For
It's
sure.
just need technical skills for that.
Although, I
And
would say at the end of the day, most creative disciplines in general, you could probably work it out if you spent enough time doing it, but you have to be passionate enough to keep doing
yeah, that's
effective practice, right?
problem I have with a lot of things. I can only do 3D. Everything else is like, oh God, that's so
You
hard.
don't
I
wanna
don't
do
want
it.
to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and like, yeah, it's. I also I wish I had like the motivation to learn so many different things. I want to do music. I want to do writing. I want to do painting. But I tried. painting. I find it so boring.
Yeah.
I want to be good at it, but I
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah.
put in the work,
I'm kind of the
And
same with that. Like every time I've painted, I've kind of enjoyed it, but like if I have to do it for a long time, I just get so like, oh man, when is it gonna look good? When am I gonna look
yeah,
at it and go, oh, that's cool, that And it takes way too long to get to that point. It's the same with writing for me as well. Like I've tried to write a few times, and I always like you say, the next day I look at it and I'm like, oh, cringe.
yeah.
That's just not good.
With the 3D, it's so versatile. It's like I can spend 5 hours explaining the difference between SDS and CAD modeling and why edge flow is important and what like I can that but it's just like one tiny piece of 3D. Painting is not I don't want to say like that's a like it sounds like that's a bad thing, but it's basic in the terms that you have a canvas and a brush or pencil or
Mhm.
whatever, and then you draw or you
Yeah.
paint, and that's that.
Well, there's less variables, right? Like there's less
Yeah,
things like you can maybe talk about the type of paint or the type of canvas
yeah,
or the type of
okay,
brush, but then that's
yeah,
not really as deep as you can go with software because software has
yeah.
way more bells and whistles and things
I
that
mean,
you
you
have to think about.
can talk about virtual cameras for hours. You can talk about render engines for days,
Yep.
like like path tracing algorithms. Then you can talk about BRDFs for days
Mhm.
and material standards and all sort of. That's just like it's so huge and versatile that whenever I get bored, at one point I can just do another thing.
Yeah.
And
You'll never hit the bottom.
I think that that might be the reason why the 3D stuck with me. I don't know why actually. Like I'm notoriously bad uh, with sticking to like I have like my hyper interests, then I do them, and I get bored after a while, and then I do something else. But 3D was always different, and always stuck with me, and I was always coming back to it. It's like an MMORPG that keeps on giving. Like if we use like gamification terms for it, and it's just like I take breaks between projects, like between Caliban and the project I started 2 days ago. That I took like a few weeks off,
Mhm.
but now I'm motivated again, and I need like sometimes I need time to adjust myself and get the motivation. And obviously, I have to have an idea. I can't just. And back in the day, I could do that. I could just sit down and do anything.
Yeah.
But that's not
No, you
working
only get that
anymore.
early on, I think. I think that's like a
Yeah,
younger thing. Like honestly, when I was like 15, I feel like I could have just sat down at any moment and just made whatever and things would just pop out. Now I have to really convince my own brain to do it. And I'm like, no, it's gonna be great. Like, I'm like telling myself, like, you'll be fine, just come on. And then I have to like motivate myself. I have to be in the right
yeah.
mood. Like there's a lot of things that go into being creative, like enough. I'm sure I could make something, but it's never gonna
Yes,
be as good, like, and I'll know that even if someone else doesn't know it. I'm looking at it like,
yeah.
it's not quite there.
I often have the thing that I try to like I have an idea. I have like a whole stack of ideas I want to do, and every idea has like the right moment where I feel like that the vibe of the idea matches my personal vibe in life right now. And like for I think 3-4 weeks ago, I thought, hey, I'm gonna do an homage to X-Files, like with UFOs. I want to do a piece with UFOs, and I will do that one day. So mark my words, in I don't know 1 year maybe I do a UFO
I'll
piece.
bug you about it.
Yeah, but um, like 2 days ago, I had like this idea that I want to do something that is inspired by the movie The Cell from Tarsem Singh. Have
Not
you
seen it.
seen that?
No.
It's with J Lo,
Okay.
but it's like Tarsem Singh does these. He did The Fall. What else did he did? The Cell, Immortals, and he has like these crazy costumes and visual things in his movies. And there's like one scene in The Cell where so the story of the cell is there's like there's a serial killer, and some people enter his mind through a machine, and they are in his mind, in his,
like Inception-ish, but not
kind of, but
more
in his
physical
serial,
than the dream part.
No, I think that with their mind and the serial killer mind, but
Connected.
it's like they share the same space, and it's like
Right.
crazy because it's the mind of a serial killer.
Mhm.
It's totally fucked up what they see there, and the serial killer himself is in a coma, and he's like this crazy king, and they have such crazy costumes, and it's just
That sounds interesting.
nuts. Yeah, and there's like there's a scene in that movie where all his victims are in like these boxes. I don't know. And you can see them, and they're like painted, and then they have like this peeling paint on their skin, and it's just crazy.
Interesting.
And I thought, hey, something like that. I watched that movie so many times. I just want to do something that plays in the same ballpark, not like being inspired to make us the Cell fan art or something. Just take certain aspects from that, and I do that a lot with like music and work, like films, music, other artists' work, and like for example Caliban with the car and that's inspired by the Make Haste guys, Ash Thorpe and Color Sponge.
Oh yeah.
So it's like I see their renderings all the time. Ash is sending me all the stuff they're working on, and then I see that, and it's like some elements of that. I'm not a car guy, for example. I don't care much about cars, but they do it so well that this inspires me to care about cars.
Yeah.
And that's why I tried it. And that's like with every piece I'm doing, also in the past, there was always a certain element of some media or content. I don't like it when you call art content, but some content I consumed, and that inspired me to do something myself. And right now, like 2 days ago, that was The Cell. I haven't watched it. I just thought about it, and it's like, okay, we're gonna do that. And I won't spoil it now, but it's gonna be crazy, I think. I hope. Fingers crossed.
I'll have to watch that. Genuinely, I'll watch it, and I'll let you know how I think about it, what I think about it. Yeah, I did see like a little bit of a post you talking about how you weren't even really into cars like that, but their passion inspired you effectively.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really big thing between artists. Like one of the things I kind of make a point of when I'm on this particular show is that I'll speak to people because I think that creatives that are completely different disciplines, entirely different disciplines, have so much in common that they don't even really realize, you know, like the amount of conversations I've had with like rappers, and then had the same conversation with someone who's like a graphics designer, and then a guy who's a 3D guy, and then a musician, and then a producer, and all these people have very, very similar kind of things going on, or like motivations or things that get them going, or it's just the only difference is really the medium and the thing that they're passionate about, you know? It's like the way that they actually channel the passion and what they channel it into is different, but the actual like fundamentals of human creativity, I think, are pretty similar. And I think, yeah, like other people inspiring you, other art inspiring you is like a part of the whole fucking thing. It's like literally how it's supposed to go, right?
Yeah, there's rap songs where the lyrics inspire me.
Yeah. That's like most of where my inspiration comes from. I'm a big rap guy. So like I love it when I get to do covers for people that have, you know, already made the music. It makes me so happy.
I rarely listen to rap music, so there's like Run the Jewels, like a few of their albums. There's like a couple of tracks, like Jeopardy, for example. They have like certain lines that resonate so much with me. They sound so cool, and have like they trigger something, and then I write that down and I read it, and I think, oh, I'm gonna call one of my pieces like that, like In the Shadow of Motherships or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. And that happens all the time with music for me, especially when they have lyrics. But usually the stuff I'm listening to doesn't have any like vocal stuff. It's just ambient or electronic.
You like Lorne?
Yeah.
Lorne's amazing, man.
Big big time.
Lorne is one of those artists that I can listen to and be unbelievably inspired every time. It can be the same track I've
Yeah,
heard a million times, and it always makes me feel like it just
it's
makes me feel, like it's proper emotional sounding, like the type of bass that you hear from some of his music is just insane. Like it's
also
amazing.
very hard to make. I've heard. Like
Yeah, it is.
I
It is.
talked to musicians that also do that kind of music, and they are all like, yeah, that's not the
It's not.
easiest. It's just like very elaborate to do something like that.
I think one of the things
Uh,
that guy did, he had like a piece of the Berlin Wall or something in a film case, like a camera film case, and that was how he made one of the sounds that he said. Like he just like
Jesus.
fucking like rattled it in a certain way and then changed a bunch of shit and put it in a synthesizer and a bunch of other shit. Like that guy is an
Crazy.
artist, Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like all
yeah.
the visuals he has for his stuff as well. He has like some incredible visuals, like that the Anvil video. Oh my
Mhm.
god, that thing is incredible, like incredible. So
Yeah,
well made, and that's one of the artists I would say. Lorne is one of the biggest inspirations that I use. Like if I'm like not feeling it that day particularly, and I need to do something creative, Lorne is one of the ones that I'll put on, and it always makes me feel something. Like some emotion of some kind, and that's
yeah.
usually a good start.
I have like a playlist with a few lawn songs, and I always listen to the same songs.
Yeah,
Songs.
yeah.
It's just like that's like one. I have that thing that I listen to music when I listen to music. When I find something that resonates with me, I listen to it until it's dead.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
So there's like one song I will just listen for days. Like there's people who just put on music and they have like a huge playlist or they listen to the radio.
Mhm.
But I need like there's like this band, the Russian band that's called Ice Peak,
Mhm.
and I don't know what the genre is called, witchcore, something like that.
Mhm.
It's and it's or witch house, I think. Yeah,
Okay,
witch
okay.
house, and it's rap with rock and ambient electronic. It's very dark, and they did a collab piece with Ollie Sykes from Bring Me the Horizon,
Okay, okay.
and it's called Vampire, and they have the live version of that. Has like a certain part where that's different from the studio recordings they have on Spotify and
Mhm.
etc. And I listened to that like on loop for days.
That
Just
one
that
part.
part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would just always go back and listen to it and be like, oh, that's so good.
Do you
And
manually do it, or do you have one of those YouTube loop plugins
no,
where
I
you pick?
manually do it.
There's
And
there's a plugin you can get on Chrome or Firefox and stuff that literally just lets you pick a particular part of the VOD and it'll just loop that part.
I don't know if I use that enough to justify
You don't
getting
do it
that
enough?
thing. Yeah, like that. Or I just
I use it all the time.
yeah, I had this like recently, like a few days ago, where I did that. Listened to that part and was like, it's giving me so much energy and motivation to do my thing here. And like it feels like that I sometimes just need that kick from something that I consume, like a scene in a movie or a certain kind of music. And I have the problem that I don't find any. Sometimes I have the problem that I don't find any new music that gives me that feeling, that rush when I have
Yeah, yeah.
to like be like, oh god, that's so good, that inspires, that makes my brain go wild, right?
Yeah.
So that's missing a lot of times. And when I find something or revisit stuff that used to do that in the past, and then I haven't listened to it for years, and then I see, I remember that I used to go crazy about this part of the song, and then it starts all over again. And yeah, recently I had that with that song.
Someone in the chat said Aphex Twin Bass 2. I completely agree. Aphex Twin is another one where there's a lot of, not gonna lie, there's a lot of abrasive tracks, but I like that. I like that. We were talking before about noise and about imperfection. Lorne
Yeah,
and Aphex Twin actually are very good examples of that. Like they take
yeah,
stuff that's very like, you know, they'll take kind of synthesizers and stuff that are very, very like they might have a bit of noise to them or whatever on the particular old ones, for example, but they'll take these things and then they'll noise them up crazy. They'll add a lot of like distortion and like things that a lot of random people, if you just let them listen to the track, would be like, what the fuck is that? But when you listen to it for long enough, you'll realize, it's like it's a lot more intentional than people would probably think if they weren't really into that music. But yeah, Aphex
Yeah.
Twin, Lorne, Flying Lotus is another one I can listen to all the time and be like heavily inspired. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot, and there's a label called Brain Feeder that is owned by Flying Lotus, and
Yeah.
on that, I'm pretty sure, I think Lorne's on it. I think Aphex Twin's on it. I'm pretty sure they've got like Thundercat and a bunch of other stuff like that. They've got so many good artists on there that are really similar kind of ambient type music, and but they all vary very much as well. And I think ambient music is probably the most like if I really need to get something done, I'm probably going to listen to something relatively ambient for the most part. Like if it has lyrics in it, I might be inspired by it, but it's usually not in the moment that I'm listening to it. It's more like I'll be listening to it outside of trying to do some work, and
Yeah.
it'll inspire me then. And then when I get home or something, like that's when I'm like, oh, I got to go do that later. But when I'm in the middle of it, when I'm at my computer ready to do some work, it's always ambient, like very atmospheric music that makes me feel an emotion.
Yeah, that's usually for me. It's like film music or ambient electronic, something like that, or neoclassic, or I don't know, like Lorne, Niels Fram, Felix
Oh, yeah.
Rösch. Like there's like a soundtrack for the film Prospect, for example. It's made from Daniel L.K. Caldwell,
Mhm.
and it's super unknown. Like he's also not like super famous, like the composer of it. And
Yeah.
I actually DM'd with him on Instagram, and he's like posting like his hobby stuff on there. It's
Oh, yeah.
just super private. He's like a softball player, and I think that's the best film music I have listened to in the last 15 years or something.
I might have heard it, but I'm not sure if I have or not, so I'm gonna have
And
to check it out
it's
after.
so good. It's like that's the original motion picture soundtrack for the film Prospect with Pedro Pascal. It's
Mhm.
like also not a big movie. It's I don't know if it's an indie movie, but it's just like a small movie, relatively low budget,
Yeah.
like not like super expensive compared to other films, and it's just so good.
I need to watch
And
that
yeah, I
too.
have like tons of these songs on my playlist, and like it's all over the place. But it's yeah, I collect music like that. And then I have to find the song to hit the right spots in my brain, and then I can do my work pretty much.
Sometimes it's that, and then sometimes it's just living as well, like, you gotta go do stuff in life. Like, if you're just sitting in a room all day, every day, trying to force it out, and you're not doing anything else, I think it also is just not gonna happen. Um,
Yeah,
it's one of those
yeah.
things I think people
I do that too much though.
you do other
I
stuff too
sit
much?
No, I don't do
Oh,
any
okay, you
stuff.
don't.
I just sit at home. I should do more stuff, but um, I don't like going outside that much. Like I'm addicted to my own comfort a
I feel
little
you.
bit.
But,
Yeah,
hey,
and it's
you do have, like, a little bit of a cheat code because it's not like you're alone? You do have a partner, and you have a dog and all these different things. You have a child as well, right? Don't you?
no,
You don't?
no,
Okay, I thought you
no.
did for some reason for a second.
I don't
Um,
want to have any
you're
children.
not gonna?
No,
The
no.
dog counts, it's fine.
Yeah,
But
that's my child.
you do have life, you know what I mean? You have things
Yeah,
happening around you anyway, even though you're not going out. I think, like, it gets much worse when people just self-isolate, unless they self-isolate to such an extent that it's an extreme, and then they end up being one of those tortured artists that's just, in their own head constantly, but making the sickest art you've ever seen. Probably not very healthy to do, either, but yeah. Like I would say, like, even little things like I like skateboarding, I like battle rap, I like certain different things that are completely nothing to do with any of the stuff that I do pretty much, but they kind of inspire me themselves, like I'll be in skateboarding, especially if I'm watching someone skate, there's something kind of artistic about a lot of these skaters and how they go about stuff, and like the very small differences in how they do a trick as opposed to someone else. And then there's also a lot of very good artists within these subcultures too, like people that are spending a lot of time on like putting across these things in just the right way. And it's very inspiring as well. Like There was
Yeah.
a skate video by Primitive not too long ago. I don't remember the name of it right now, but the company's called Primitive, and there's a lot of really good skaters on there. And it's such a good video. Like the way that it's shot and everything is really, really good. And I was just loving that. And after that, I immediately, after I first watched it, I made a poster like just off rip. It was just like, I've got to go make something. Like it was one of them where it's like, you know, inspiration can come from fucking anywhere as long as but you got to do stuff. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a while till the inspiration comes, I feel.
Are you a skater yourself?
Yeah, I'm not
Do
very
you,
good though.
okay,
I'm
but did
pretty terrible.
okay, but for how long are you skating now?
I was like 11 maybe when I started.
Oh, okay, so a long time.
Yeah, very much.
Okay.
I'm still
Just thought,
terrible, but you know, I had
yeah,
don't get
that's
me, I
fine.
had a brief moment in between, like where I wasn't really doing it. But well, I say brief, several years at least, where I wasn't really doing it. But a couple years ago, like during the COVID times or whatever, I was just like, I've got to get back into this, man. Like I was seeing way too many videos and stuff of people skating, and obviously,
No,
like you said before, the internet wasn't really around to. You know, like how you're saying that it wasn't around to teach you for certain things back in the day. Like we didn't have YouTube that had every, you know, like a million Blender tutorials. But the same
yeah,
way, we also didn't have all the kickflip tutorials or people very clearly explaining how to do the
yeah.
kickflip properly, or like
Back in the
why
day,
your ollie's bad or whatever.
there was like these skate videos, right? I know a lot of filmmakers used to start with the skate
Yeah.
videos. They would just film their friends
Yep.
and like Spike Jonze, for example. I think he started that way.
Hmm.
And then he went to do Jackass.
Yep.
And then he did all the adaptation and being John Malkovich stuff. And yeah, crazy.
In battle rap as well, and the other thing I mentioned, there's a company called Ruin Your Day who are like a kind of production type of company.
Mhm.
Like they'll do like they'll do watches, so they'll get battle rappers on and they'll watch the battles with them, and then they'll also do like edited videos, and they'll also do like live events, so they'll be like the cameraman and they'll do all that stuff. And they originally got into stuff by doing skate videos. Their first stuff they ever did was all
Yeah,
skate videos. Like
crazy.
but you can kind of tell, like if you're a skater and you're used to these sorts of videos, a lot of the way they go about some of the edits they do, you can tell that they have, you know, that they were in skateboarding once, because it's like super similar, like the style that they go for and all these sorts of things. It's cool, man. It's like there's so many subcultures that I think can really inspire artists in general, and it'd be things that you just would never even think that would do it. You know, it's awesome.
I tried skating back in the day, I think once, but I have like really huge feet,
Okay,
like abnormally huge.
what
Like
size
I
feet have you
can't. I think US 16.
Damn, good
Yeah,
lord, that is
yeah, they're
that
pretty
is
big.
yeah, fucking
I
hell.
am. I can't go to a store and buy
Yeah,
shoes,
that's
so I have to
insane.
order them online, and the range of things I can buy is very slim. So, and back in the day, like I think that started with my feet when I was like in sixth grade or something, and like all my friends were skaters, and I tried it and couldn't just make it work. It was just
It
like,
would be hard, yeah. You'd need to get
yeah,
like a proper big skateboard. Like there's different widths, like
yeah.
and you could probably get one and then work it out now if you really wanted to, but yeah,
Ah, no,
can't
then
be
I would
bothered.
probably hurt myself
You would. That's just
first
part
day,
of
and then I would be just bummed out because I'm in pain. And nah,
the
it's okay. I leave that to the young people that are starting young. Like
understandable.
I just do my computer shit.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, when I went back to it from being since being a kid, when I was a kid, you could fall over and get back up over and over again for the whole
Yeah.
day. Now, I don't even fully fall over. Like, I'll just land on my ankle slightly wrong, and then I'm out for like weeks. It's just like I can barely
Oh,
walk, which is very
nice.
annoying. But
Yeah.
which is also part of the reason I'm still bad, is because I don't really want to push myself too far. You know, maybe I will. Maybe I'll force it at some point, but
I mean, that's pretty much part of the job or the part of the hobby when you're a skater, that you hurt yourself
yeah, it is
eventually, right? At some
100%.
point, that's gonna happen. It's just there's
You are
no
going
pro
to fall.
skater who didn't break something I guess.
Absolutely
Even
true.
Tony Hawk, didn't he have like hugely long recovery time because of his knees or something?
Yeah, he's done loads of stuff. Like almost, if you talk to any old skater from back then, like they'll
Yeah.
all tell you they have problems. All of them, every single one. They all have issues with the knees. Rodney Mullen's the godfather of skateboarding. Like he made all the tricks that everyone does, like kick flips, blah 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 blah. The ollie as well. He made that guy. He was like almost in a wheelchair for a while. I think he was in a wheelchair technically for a little bit, like for several years, I'm pretty sure. And then now he's able to skate a little bit again, but it's not like he can't do it like he used to be able to.
Well, I will just sit here.
Yeah, let's not. But 15 is insane though. Like my feet are size 11, and that's already annoying enough in certain for certain shoes, like to find them in stock. But in 15 must be very annoying actually. Like that seems like a stressful
It
experience.
is sometimes. Like I see shoes and I think, wow, they look badass, but no chance.
You're not
Like
allowed.
I have like I'm very lucky that Adidas makes Ultra Boost in my size,
Mhm.
but they're always sold out. So whenever there's stock somewhere
You
from
grab 'em.
Adidas Ultra Boost, I will buy them all. I have like spare pair always on hand.
The
Yeah,
annoying
but
thing
my
with skating as well is that you would probably need them even more often, because in doing the things on the grip tape, you would ruin the shoes so much faster. So you would have that
yeah.
problem times
I
3.
back in the day, I used to wear a lot of skate shoes like Vans, and there was this company. I don't think it's around anymore called Supra.
I
They
know that.
did,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, they did these Supra Vader. They were called, and they were like my favorite shoes. But with skate shoes, the problem is they're not that well cushioned on the
No.
sole, and that my feet hurt after some time. So I can't walk around with Vans slip-ons, for example, for a whole day. Just like back in the day, I could do that, but these days I can't. And Ultra Boost are so comfortable on the feet that I just wear them now, and it's perfect. What also works is Jordans, because they're so wide as well,
Yeah.
and Jordans are made for basketball players, and they have huge feet. So
Yep.
you like if you have huge feet, you can always go to Nike and buy Jordans, but you have to like Jordans. They're also not the most comfortable shoes, I think,
But
personally.
a little bit better than some other options, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, better than Vans, for
Vans have
example.
never really been very comfortable shoes, to be fair.
I mean,
Like,
the skater shoes. That's I think.
to be fair, some skater shoes are very comfortable, but they're kind of it's
Really?
too far in the other direction though.
I always thought that skater shoes are just uncomfortable
It
because they
depends. So you've got like the versions that are very much like canvasy, and like the bottom
Yeah,
is where most of the weight is anyway, and that's
yeah,
Vans. And there's other ones like that too, and Converse as well. People would use for skating, and they're pretty good technically for skating, but super uncomfortable. And
yeah,
whereas then you would have like the old DC shoes and stuff like that, like back in the
yeah.
day, that were like very, 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 very cushioned. Like the
I
inside
never, I
was
never could wear DC shoes
no,
because of the size thing. But I liked the look of the DC shoes back in the day, but never got any.
they're so cushioned, like way too
Yeah.
cushioned to be honest, in hindsight. But
Huh.
they were very comfortable, but just like heavy. Like the shoe
Yeah.
ended up being so heavy because they put so much padding in it that the whole thing was just insanely heavy. And then your shoes would be even worse because obviously size 15 DCs would be insane. Like the amount of
Yeah.
heaviness in that would be ridiculous.
They also, it looks ridiculous at some, like if you have like these, I don't know, that the clump of shoe on your foot, it's just like
It
at
does,
some
yeah.
point it just looks weird.
Yeah, I remember looking like a fucking weirdo as a child until a certain age. Like I wear skate shoes now, but they're not really. They don't look like skate shoes. Like these are skate shoes. These, and they look like pretty normal shoes.
Yeah, but they
Um,
look good.
they're like very comfortable. They're the Nike SB Niger ones, like Niger
Mhm.
Houston. And so far so good. I'm really quite impressed with them. With my other shoes I had to wear like insoles in them, like
Yeah.
replace their own insoles because they sucked. So I had to get something that would be good for your foot. But these I haven't had to do that at all. I don't even think I can do that, to be fair. I'm pretty sure the thing's glued to the bottom, but so far they're very, very comfortable. And I've been like skating on them, I've been running around on them all day, and then I don't come home with sore feet. So that's pretty good. But
Maybe
like
I have to check
90%
them
of
out.
skate shoes do not look like that. That's not what skate shoes look like. This is basically like a trainer. Like this is something that someone would use in like, I don't know, not golf, like jogging or like something like that, you know. So yeah, I need to try it for jogging, see if it actually is good for that. Right, there's something else I wanted to ask you as well. So we talked about the forums. So you started effectively doing graphics and stuff like we all did originally on these forums. Did you ever end up on like graphics forums later on, or did you kind of like dip out from these?
Later on. That was the transition. Like all these BitTorrent forums eventually went away because of law stuff.
It's illegal, yeah.
Yeah, like not the forums itself aren't illegal, but they
the
like
torrenting side.
the people all these forums were attached to the torrent site, so they just busted them, and then but I never got into trouble. I was just there in the forum, just a user there. And from there I went to like German graphic communities that all did the same kind of like the people. There were other people in the forums, in the BitTorrents forums, who did this kind of stuff, like with graphics, and someone like during the end posted like a link to another forum, and we just went there. And I met like friends there. I think to this day I have still people I talk to sometimes from that era. So like I know them for 20 plus years now.
Yeah, I have a few friends like that too. I have a couple friends
just
from back in the
online.
day.
Never met them in real life, but they have like some of them are like web designers. My lawyer is actually, she used to be in one of those forums.
Really?
Also like
that's
a
cool.
graphic designer background, but then studied law, and now she's my lawyer.
Awesome.
And has her own law firm and everything.
Awesome.
And like there's like a forum actually that it's called MCXU, and it's a closed community, so you can't come in, and it's like just closed, and it's a forum as well. And they like the guy who started it in 2005, and it still exists to this day.
That's
And
pretty
all
crazy.
the people in there, I know them for 20 years, and there are doctors, photographers, software engineers, and they all went places, and it's just like family.
Oh yeah, that's dope. There's a lot of people like that I can see as well. Like there's a guy called Chris that I met on an old forum back in the day, and I didn't meet him on a graphics forum. I just met him doing graphics on a forum, just some completely unrelated forum. And he's currently doing like set design for like animation behind like big musical shows and stuff. And it's just incredible the work he does, man. Like it's so good, and he's getting a lot of love for it too. He's made like he worked with Intel like to do like a mouse mat, and I think it was a mouse mat. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was, and it was like a homage to gaming. So it had like references to like Portal and like old stuff most of the time. It was just this awesome piece of art, and he got to literally, I think there was like 6 or 7 artists that got involved in it or that were asked to do it, and he was one of them. And then he sold those individual mouse mats. And he was just one of these dudes on the forum. I remember, he used to make signatures for people and like special avatars and stuff. Like we had little trends going on in the community, and it'd be like, "Oh, can you make me one?" And then he would make like, we had this thing called diglets that we would quote, right? Where we would, I don't know why we would do this, but for some reason it was interesting to us at the time. But we would have the avatar be one side of the diglet, and then the other side of the diglet coming out of the other, like the other part of the ground or whatever, would be in the signature. So we would do different versions of it. So we'd have like a diglet, we'd have like Mario going through a pipe, etc., etc., etc. And for like a while, he was the guy. He was like doing the digipaints for that. Like he was just digipainting everyone like little with like proper detailed faces on them and shit. He was the guy, and he's succeeded very well. So I'm happy for him. It's awesome, man.
Maybe with the advance of AI, we all go back to our roots and do user graphics again at some point.
Maybe
there's this
theory
of the theory of the dead internet. That's all bots. At some point, will only be bots, and we will go back to being offline.
We'll retreat into private forums.
Yes,
that'd be a good idea.
Into forums.
We should do that now, I think.
I mean, there's people trying to, like, forums are dying still. Like, there's tons of communities, just that not like something that the white mass is adapting to. It's just like too niche for Gen Z, I think. so all the younger people aren't drawn to forums anymore. I think they have like Discord servers, which is also cool. But like I still like forums. I'm still a member in some of them, but there's like a 3D forum I'm in that has like problems finding money to pay for the server infrastructure and everything. So it's just like I think they will eventually die down, all of them, at some point.
I reckon so. Yeah, I think we'll
Or
have to
maybe
kind of go back
just
to it
like
later.
a very few will be left. So these public forums, I feel like if it's attached to something like you have like the Otoy forums, for example, for Octane, that's like where people can go for support and everything that has an actual practical use.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if it's just like
Forum on its own.
forum on its own for people not seeking any information or support or technical knowledge, and it's just like for the sake of it, I think that's very hard to keep up.
It is. I agree. There's like the ones I can think of that are still actually active a bit now in some way or another are all attached to something. There's like a service or something. But like, you know, loads of tools that existed. Like there's Cheat Engine that exists as a tool that's existed for like since like early 2000s, and that has a forum that exists still to this day. I remember I was on there as a kid like so long ago in like 2006, I think, just you know trying to cheat in MapleStory and stuff, and that's still there technically. There's just no community really there anymore. Like there still is like a forum, and you can go there and you can ask questions, and maybe someone's going to help. But the community side of it, the people that were there every day and talking to each other and in the private parts of the forum, you know, giving each other advice on certain things and these sorts of stuff, they're just not there anymore. Like every single person has left. It's just because, you know, like you say, there's Discord servers, there's other apps and stuff. People don't really want to download another app, for example, and that's kind of what they feel like you're telling them to do when you say go to this website and do this, and then you know, like they can't be bothered. They just want it to be like all in the apps they've already got. They want like there's Discord, there's TikTok, there's Instagram, and all the ones that exist, and that's it, pretty much. It's kind of hard to like funnel people away.
I actually met my wife on a forum.
You did?
Yeah.
Damn. That's awesome.
Yeah. We knew each other for I don't know 10 plus years, and then I don't know. But it was also
did you spend like time not being like? So when you knew her, did you not meet her for a long time and then end up meeting her later down the line, or did you meet pretty early?
Yeah. We all like we knew each other from the forum, and then we met at some point and we're just buddies. And at some point, I don't know, it's just like in 2017, then we finally were like, yay, and came together and then married a few years later.
Oh yeah, man.
And yeah,
that's awesome, man. You know when people used to tell me as a kid,
forum. Yeah, it's just
they used to tell me, "Oh, it's not real. The internet isn't real." It is, bro. It absolutely is.
I mean, Tinder, right?
I'm telling you, man. It is real. Yeah. Like it's not as real on its own. If you stay in the internet, obviously, I get it. It's not real, right? But it's like it is real in the sense that you can have real, genuine relationships with people before you even meet them. To be honest,
yeah,
you absolutely can. There's a lot of people that I've never met in my life, and I would definitely call them my close friend. Like I've never met them. They just live somewhere else. There's one guy called Hugh that I've met once, and he visited England one time, like 5-6 years ago, and that's it. I've never met him any other time, but that's my guy. That is my boy right there, you know? Like I'm never gonna, that is legit. If I have a wedding, I'm inviting him. That's like, he is one of those people, but I've only met him once, and I only met him briefly too. It was like for a day or something he was there. So
well, shout outs to him.
Yeah, hell yeah. That guy's doing very well for himself too, to be fair. He came from the same place as the Chris guy who's doing the background stuff now for.
So he's also an artist.
Yeah. Although he's not so much doing art anymore. He's doing more like this development stuff in his career now. But he was always an artist too. Yeah, he was one of the people that was involved in a lot of the signature stuff back in the day and like all this stuff. You know, man, I just missed like the little community things that would happen in these forums. You know, like. You don't really get shit like that anymore. Like these sorts of trends are usually just like, oh, put this on do a TikTok dance or do a fucking put this on your story like everyone else is doing, you know? And
I mean, you kind of have that sometimes with Twitter when there's like certain, like there's always the same names. Like you are one of them in my timeline. There's always the same names popping up, and after a while you know them. Like, this is that guy who's doing 3D, and then there's the other guy who's doing 3D, and that's the girl doing the paintings, and
But now
I
we
don't
have to
know.
kind of pull ourselves together if we actually want to do any of the community part of it, you know?
Exactly, it's just like loose a
Yeah.
little bit, so people will just pop out of that bubble and then back in, and it's just like very fluid in a way. And you don't have that in forums because everyone has an account and they're always like just like a box.
Yeah.
They're all in the box.
And you go to this
They
place
can't
for this
be.
particular thing, and then you go to this place for this other thing.
And on Twitter, it's just like the algorithm decides who's in the box and who's outside of it, and it makes it a little bit hard. Maybe a combination like a forum that doesn't, or like Twitter without algorithm. That would be it, right?
Yeah, the algorithm is kind of part of why it's a difficult thing, I think, because it's like
Yeah.
you don't really have this organic reach in the same way anymore. Like you have to kind of like play to something that isn't necessarily what the people you're actually trying to look for are looking for, just to
Yeah.
get in front of them in the first place, which seems a bit dodgy when it comes to like actually building a community, for example. It's kind of hard right now. You have to kind of give them a reason to join and be like, oh, come here and I'll give you this. And this is free if you come here, by the way. And I'm doing these things where I'm teaching you 3D or whatever it is, you know, like you have to kind of like give them some value proposition as to why they should go there. But back in the day, people were looking for stuff. And that's another thing. Not social media, sorry. Search engines are very different now. Like back in the day, they weren't perfect, but when you search for something, you would generally end up finding roughly what you were looking for. Now, people know how to game it so much that you aren't really going to find that. You're going to find the person that put the most time into getting themselves there. You're not going to necessarily find the exact thing you're looking for. If you type in like forum for 3D art, for example, you might not find the exact thing you're looking for. You might find a forum for 3D art, or 2 or 3 or 4, but you're not too likely to find like the gems that you might have found back in the day.
Yeah, I just put in Reddit after my search thing plus Reddit, and then I find Reddit posts. It's usually I Google stuff when I need like tech support for something, or like something breaks
I
with
always
my
put Reddit
PC
on
or
it as
something.
well.
Yeah, and then just look for Reddit posts.
Me too.
Because then there's like they have these articles that are just made to go up the search result ranking, and you can always sense, okay, they just wrote that way because
it gets them up the rankings.
Yeah, they want to have like the AdSense money or something.
Exactly.
And I'm like, nah, just give me the real people. I want the Reddit degens,
the human beings arguing about this is what I want. I want the people that I want the positive,
trolls.
the negative, all that shit. Just give me the real people talking about this exact topic, you know. And I will say you can get that on Reddit, not so much as well as I don't know, man. It used to be forums. Like I remember back, you know, I would search something, it would be some random forum I've never heard of, and then like 10 or 12 people having a conversation, and then one of them's being a dick to the other one or whatever. But then in the middle, there's like a little bit where someone says, actually, here's how you solve this problem. Which is
the other ones are like, shut the fuck up.
Shut up, this guy's a fucking idiot. Which I like that about the internet. It's always been like I've been used to it, you know? Like that was the vibe back in the day. Like everyone was kind of a bit of a dick.
Still tame. Like you didn't have all these ultra sick people on the internet. These days it's just like so
like
weird.
People really trying to hurt your feelings, like in a very bad way.
Yeah, but in a forum then it was different. It just felt different when you have like a forum, like a troll in a forum. I was a troll myself pretty much half my life, but yeah, it's I don't know, it just felt more tame and not that like when these days the trolls on Twitter, for example, or the people you would encounter there, that you all personally I think half of them could be school shooters or something. They're just so deranged in a way, and like back in the days in the forums it was just like not like that. It's just like
that is, I think, an algorithm thing too. I think like those people get enabled beyond belief over time, and they get fed a lot of really bad stuff, and then over time that starts to like rot their brain, so then they end up being the worst person on the internet. Like,
Maybe.
don't get me wrong, there were bad people. Like on old forums, I was a kind of a dick to some people, and then there were other people being dicks to people, and there were occasional people that would pop up, like really crazy people. Like there was one dude, I'm not going to explain the story, but like everyone was like, "Whoa, dude! Like what the fuck is wrong with this guy?" And he would
Yeah.
always do stuff that we were like, "Whoa!" And it happened like 20 times. Like and he would make new accounts and turn up again and just do the exact same type of shit again. It was just fucking wild, man. But that was rare. Like you'd occasionally get that. It wasn't
Yeah.
no algorithm ruined that guy. He was just fucked. But but now there's like thousands and thousands of enabled
Yeah.
like white supremacist types and stuff online just getting
We have
absolutely enabled.
the army of school shooters now.
There's a lot of them, dude. There's a lot. But yeah, I think it would be cool to go back to that kind of timing a little bit. But yeah, it's very difficult to convince people, and you kind of have to be able to monetize things as well. And speaking of which, right, I am someone that is very critical usually of NFTs. However, I would say that your NFTs stuff that you've done doesn't make me angry when I look at it, which confuses me a little bit. So, would you like to explain what it is that you do with NFTs and how it benefits you in your life?
Well, so that started late 2020, I think. And at first I thought it was a scam. And then I saw all my friends do it. Like, it was just one night on like mid-COVID and on Twitter, and when Twitter was still Twitter. And the website Super Rare was just popping up on my feed, and I was just checking it out. And then I saw all these names from all these peoples there, and was like, okay, that's all people I know for 15 years. That can't be a scam then, right?
Right.
Why wouldn't they all scam at the same time? So like maybe one of them, but not all of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, then I thought, okay, let's just apply to one of those websites. And then I started to sell my digital art there. Like, no big collection, no ape or punk stuff.
Mhm.
Like, I don't have like a company behind me and selling collectibles or anything. It's just like, I'm a digital artist. Here's my art. You can buy it
That's
or
it.
you
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, which
That's
I think is the
all of
time
it.
that's the best way to go about it, in my opinion, because it starts to become
Yeah.
very shaky when, these sorts of collections and stuff, they start to promise things that aren't really happening, or like they suggest something that could happen
Yeah.
more than it
I
probably
mean,
would.
there's also a lot of bad actors in the space, right? So you have a lot of scammers there
Yep.
that will just try to rip you off, but I just don't touch any of that. All I do is just I have my digital art, and whenever I think I have something I want to release as NFT, I do it, and then people will buy it or not. And that's all of it. And it's made enough money over the years that I can like not relax for the rest of my life, but it's okay enough that I have like a buffer now that
Yeah.
when there's like, because like right now the market situation for 3D or like any freelancers in our space for creative work is a little bit rough.
Mhm.
There was a lot of layoffs, so the market is saturated with a lot of talent, but not enough jobs.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's okay. It's good to have that buffer, and yeah, NFTs provided that buffer. And, yeah,
I agree with it.
I'm
Like
very glad I did that.
I've heard, you've definitely been singing the praises of what it's done for you. So I definitely wanted to bring that up in this because this is something I'm pretty vocally anti usually, but it's not
Yeah,
like I'm not anti it over the board every single time. I just don't think the technology is as cool as a lot of people will say it is. The
I'm
technology itself.
yeah.
Like, but
I
the
mean,
actual idea of, someone speculates and goes, I think this art is going to appreciate and it's in this particular format. I like the format. I'm going to buy it. That's fine. No
yeah.
problem whatsoever with that. That's like a normal thing to do, or buy it
I
because you like it.
I mean, I'm also not a company or anything, so
Yeah.
it's not like I have a huge agenda or something. It's just like it's the first time in in history, it feels like that digital art is appreciated the same way like the modern art market would see modern art, like painters and installations and something.
Hmm.
And digital art was always seen as a joke, kind of. It is just like these guys, it's just these kids in their parents' basements or people who do stuff for games and movies.
Hmm.
And games and movies are mass product, it's not art.
Yep.
even though it is, but
There's
it's
art
not.
in it, but it itself
Yeah,
viewed isn't
yeah,
necessarily art.
and then you have like awards and ceremonies for games and music. That's fine, but it's never gonna be like that. That there's a gallery and we put a screenshot from, I don't know, from Super Mario in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people who do digital art at home, like all these artists, the sculptors and everything, they will end up in these companies who do films and games, and that's that. It's never like, it had never that feel. It never felt that it would, like, the perception of it is like serious, that we are doing something. It always felt like people who control the art market see it like something that like children do on their side.
Digital,
Yeah. And then that was like that paradigm shift happened, because then rich people would all of a sudden speculate on exactly that, these people.
The same way they would speculate on other art as well. So
Yeah,
in fairness,
exactly.
it makes sense, right? Like a lot of the
Yeah.
reason that people would even think a certain art piece was worth something is not it doesn't, the inherent worth in it is the art itself in the first place, obviously, but the actual monetary worth is at the end of the day going to be based on who is willing to pay X amount because they think it's going
Yeah,
to
it's
appreciate.
also it's the same the same mechanics like in the normal art market.
Yep.
Like it's this rarity, who's the artist, and it's not like about the quality of the artwork.
Yeah, because
But
it
it's
could be all
never,
sorts of different types of quality and
yeah,
like,
and you can't really define what quality is. So obviously I can spend 12 months on a single artwork and that's cool, but that there's people who don't look for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's same dynamic, good or bad, as in the modern art market, the contemporary art market. And it just felt good to see that there's like people appreciating it the same way, like the art that's hanging in a museum, for example.
Yeah.
And that changed. And I think there's still people who do that, even though the whole space kind of changed a little since late 2020, and now it's different and it's always changing and moving. But yeah, I just feels good to be part of that and that movement in a way. And if I can make money with just my art, like not working for clients, not having mental breakdowns about changes and doing crunch and sitting in a company working on something that I don't really care about just because I have to pay rent,
Mm-hmm.
and just having the ability to do the stuff I want to do. And
That's
I
the
know
dream.
that I know that I'm good at it, right? So I spent the last 20 years working on that skill. So I'm pretty much like the boss of making people feel something when they watch a still image. So I can do that stuff, and having the ability to generate money from that, why not? Why wouldn't I say no to it? Why would I say no to this, right?
Yeah, unless it's immoral, but you are not doing anything immoral. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
there's,
I'm not scamming people. I'm not taking their money.
you're
I'm
not
saying
promising them
here's
anything other than what you're giving them at the end of the day.
here's the NFT. Buy it. You know you will support my life. I will continue to do that when you buy that.
Mhm.
I'm not promising you that you will be rich in 2 months.
Yep.
It's your own risk. So
And then people
yeah,
make their choices according to the artist they like,
yes,
or or the
and
artist they think another person will like.
all of them who bought a 101, for example, are still pretty happy, I think, about their purchase. And they see I thrive and I'm still alive. And that's long-term investment in me and my brand and my artistic ability.
For
And
sure,
well,
because in a way, them doing that and them knowing that, it will make the art itself be worth more because it supports you to then
yeah,
continue to do art and get bigger and start to be more known. So if by them supporting you with the money that they paid for that, that
yeah,
causes you to make more better art and more over time, etc., then that will literally do them a service. So it is a win-win in a way, you know, as long as you can afford
yeah,
it, of course. Now,
yeah,
obviously, I wouldn't recommend someone who goes and buys a piece of art in general, including classical art, if you don't have money to throw away because you don't know it's going to make the money back, right? At the end of the day, you don't
No,
know.
it's a gamble. It's like you need like a certain amount of bullshit money, like stuff you can afford to lose. So it's like you wouldn't go to a casino with money you can't lose. That's just stupid.
That would be silly, yeah.
Don't do that, people.
Only buy it if you're not expecting to get anything back from it.
Yes.
And you hope maybe, but that's it. You know what I mean? As long as you can actually stand to lose it, you're good. And then maybe it'll make you some money down the line. And in the meantime, it will help out whoever the artist is. So I do think that's a really good thing. I would say like, the NFT space is very difficult to kind of have an honest conversation in, because I think a lot of people are so invested in the idea that, well, it makes sense because obviously they want their NFT to do well. And in them doing that, they're going to like kind of talk about it as if it's the next big thing in every way they fucking can, like sometimes people will be like, oh, NFTs are going to take over this and that and fucking everything in the world. And the reason they're doing that is because they really want it to, so that their thing that they have is now worth a lot more. So it's sometimes hard to have the conversation because they have a vested interest in convincing everyone that it is the next big thing. And that's, and so, because of that, it's been like, I've wanted a couple times to have like a genuine full-on conversation with someone that's like fully into the NFT space and like, see what their opinion is on stuff. But because of that, every time I watch an interview of one of these people with someone else, they're always kind of like holding back a little bit what they really feel or the negatives that they could really say, because they don't want to negatively affect their holdings and like put them down.
Well, they all have bags still in the space, so
yeah, so they can't really be fully honest. They're still trying to sell something, It's like you get someone to talk about their product on your show, the chances are they're going to up their product quite a bit, you know what I mean? They're not going to just be super straightforward honest about every single bit of the product because they're trying to sell their product, right? So it makes sense. So
everyone buy zomax NFTs, please.
Yeah, you should. If you have extra money, go buy them. They're very good. I'll reiterate, by the way, that if anyone is currently watching or listening to the podcast at this point later down the line, you can find Zomax's stuff in general on the website. So konr.work, konr.work/DAM, all caps. And on there, there'll be a list of all of the episodes that have gone down. And in there, on the number 18 one, when I put it in after this, obviously not right now, there will be links to Zomax's stuff as well. So you can go and buy those in general. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good conversation that we've had there. To be fair, it's gone almost an hour and a half now. I think we've chatted about quite a few things. That went very quickly, to be honest with you. For me, that was a good chat. We can have another chat again in the future, right? When you have finished your next fucking thing. Because there is other stuff I want to talk about, but I think it's a better idea to leave it around an hour. I've been pushing them to like 2.5 hours sometimes, and then editing that is so annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Like having to go over everything and see if there's any problems around the whole 2.5 hours is ridiculous. So we're gonna avoid that this time. Thank you very, very much for coming on, dude. Really appreciate it. Great conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Anyone else in the chat? Again, go check out Zomax or CorneliusDämmrich.com. You can find his stuff. Look him up. His art is some of the best shit I've ever seen in my life, and it's incredible stuff. You should also check it out. So yeah, thank you for people being in the chat. Thank you for the fans that came from your social medias as well. Zomax, anyone that's in the chat from that, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.